Oh, let's see if I muted or unmuted it, because now it's now. Okay, we are live.
All righty. It's 6:04, we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We want to take a moment of reflection for those who serve this country, made it possible for us to come together and, as individuals, make decisions on the best behalf of our community. I want to thank those that gave their time, lives, their families that suffered and waiting for them to return home. For those who didn't make it, those families. Thank you. Tonight we were led in the Pledge of Allegiance by our very own Kevin Garcia. He's a senior at Glen High School, a member of the National Honor Society. He's also a member of the Belen State Championship basketball team, and was honored by the Herald as one of the premier basketball players of the county. He's also being recognized for the Brigadier member of his class, where he'll give the commencement speech as his graduation. He's also participated in the mission trip that Ben took to the Dominican Republic, and I know they did some great things. Saw pictures where he dug ditches, laid pipes for water and things. And right thing I'm most proud of is he led a project called Give a Ball, Spread the Love. And kids in underprivileged areas, less economic conditions than what we're used to, as far as Kenya, Africa, see basketball because of the efforts of Kevin. So Kevin, we want to thank you for all your efforts, making Loch Lomond proud that you came.
I mean, thank you all, really. There's a lot of credit to my parents. They're probably raising me at the end of the day. It's really who I've come to be. So I thank you all for making this possible.
I know you got some studying to do. It's AP test week,
Yes.
so feel free to exit when you need.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for the recognition.
Where you applying to?
Oh, I got in, so
Which one?
I will be going to the University of North Carolina. Chapel Hill.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
You gonna
you.
play basketball there?
I'll definitely try out.
Good luck.
Thank you.
He got into their honors. Academically as well.
Very good. Excellent.
Got some next week, it's silver nights.
Yeah,
Ooh.
he's silver 99.
So math, so you know who to call if you need a tutor.
Yeah. Thank
I'm
you.
available.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Good seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
We'll do roll call. We have here, Self-President Patrick Kunkel. Chris Crackco. Board member, Eugene Ochoa,
Here, present.
and Albert. Vice President Abe Young, Alvarez. Shelley, Secretary. We do have quorum. Order of business, I will open up for public comments. Oh, next. Hold on. 3 minutes, those who wish to speak.
You can take it back. I use it to do it. Public wishing to speak?
You don't have any people are watching.
Not from here. It's once it goes to Vimeo.
And can they speak?
No. So for committee meetings, it's one way. We're just transmitting outward and live streaming, and then it's also documenting archives so they can see it later too.
Will the board get to speak at a later time, or?
Well, you can reply to questions for them. Or anyone listening, but if you have a comment at this time. But if nothing else, we'll close public comment there. And we'll go on to the order of the business. We have 2 minutes that need to be approved. If we're going to take a quick peek at it. And, make a motion to approve. Do we have, December 8th and November 7th?
Patrick, what is on the minutes for third of December 8th? The board is tabling the LPR for purpose. What is that?
It's a camera system that reads the license plates.
Got it.
And we just table that for further.
This is the one that the police had recommended. That the one.
That is the-
Yeah,
that is correct.
we're still looking at the possibility of if we can get a better camera system down the line. But we would do it internally. So that the data stays. That's what I remember the conversation.
And just quickly for my edification, as I wasn't here, so the goal was not to have the license plate readers taking pictures and working with police. You guys were looking more at a CCTV camera that was in-house and you guys managed this holistically yourselves, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, just fine.
I approve this.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor? Great, thank you. President's report. Let's see, May 7th, we'll have a community picnic at the park. And you call it, I think, park number 1 or something like that.
P3, the one on
But,
the northwest corner of
yeah.
your guys' community? That's
Let me
P3.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. Rather socialize, chit chat a little bit, get to know each other better. It's been a while. Enjoy ourselves. The other thing is, I know, regarding the lake within our community, our contract has expired. So we're in the motion or in the process of getting new bids and, working on that
When
issue.
they say change the lights, they're changing the light bulbs or they're changing the entire light system.
When you're saying street lights and pocket light and park lights?
Is that what you're talking about?
No, the lake.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard lights. Sorry.
If I misspoke.
No, my bad.
And then through the chair, just to keep everybody on track, remember the majority and actually all of our operations and kind of what we discuss here is meant to be on the NSD services, so strictly the security services.
Mhm.
As far as the lakeside, that's HOA,
Right.
you all can manage within your, but for the majority of what we're deciding here is gonna be strictly security service provided to your
So
district.
I'll just report that. All right, moving on to service issues.
Haven't, on our end, haven't had any other issues brought up other than gate arm issues, and being struck in the center, we had to replace some of the bollards in the middle. But as far as issues, I have not been made aware since our last discussion in February with the vendor, as far as I believe we came into an occurrence once or twice with individuals that did not speak English. And I kind of gave the board notice that if this were to occur again, go ahead and bring it to my attention immediately. It was brought to Kent's attention. They confirmed everyone that is on site should be speaking English. And if there is an occurrence in which it is not happening, I need to be made aware because that is a clause in their contract. But down the road, equate to defaulting on their contract. But that is a core term within their contract. So if there's ever any occurrence and you don't have my contact info after this meeting, I'll give you my card. Feel free to directly let me know of any of that. But other than minor fines, name tags and so forth, we had an inspection done earlier today with a new appointed individual that is going to be your liaison. He will probably start at the next meeting. But he's already gone and inspected and we saw no concerns on his inspection for the guardhouse.
When that gentleman went for the inspection, who did you go with?
Solo, it's him and then he'll follow his checklist that Christina had built previous.
And he works for the
He
town?
works for the town, right? And he kind of, and the goal is to, it's unscheduled, so the guard is not aware. Usually the first pass, the way we used to do it, Christina and I, first pass, we kind of don't, no show any paperwork or anything, just pass on through and see the process of how they're allowing individuals in. And then on the way back is where we typically stop and go through the entire point inspection at that point. Check the guardhouse, check the bathroom, in this case, not a bathroom, but check the guardhouse, make sure there's nothing else operationally that's impairing them being able to deliver service.
And if I had to take a guess, when you guys go before 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., is that usually when you guys go?
Correct.
So that's one of the problems.
Okay.
We don't have a major problem during the afternoon per se. That's not the issue. The issue is obviously after the afternoons, at night,
How
2
late?
in the
Okay,
morning.
I'm gonna say
It's
it's
gonna vary. Whenever that afternoon shift switches, that's where the issues are. We don't have, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. We don't have issues at 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. It's the same people that have been there forever.
early mornings either,
After 8 o'clock.
so after 8.
Yeah.
They do changes at 10 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yes, that's there was.
that's my first statement. My second statement is the lady that was running these meetings before, is she still attached to the town or is she gone?
No, she's moved
We moved
on.
on. So I've sent several emails to her, asking her for the scope of practice that these guards are responsible for, what their job is. I ask because we as residents, some of us think they're gonna go to my backyard when I call them, tell them to go search my backyard. They're gonna, and I understand that. So what I want is for us to understand what the scope of practice is, the scope of work is, because we might not be thinking that what they're supposed to do, they're not supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do.
No,
they're
definitely.
supposed to do. So I've asked for that several times. I have never been given it.
Do you remember the last time you emailed? Because I have access to her inbox.
I can look at the emails because I know he asked me one day for all the dates of the emails and I sent them all the dates. So I have the
And
dates.
I've asked myself,
So
Let me verify on Eugenio, I think I have yours, right?
Right.
Correct. I think I'll take a look if I still have that same request.
Yep.
The one request I know is there was a public record request one. I don't know if that was you as well. That one I have access to Christina.
What we would like is, I think it's the same thing he's asking for, is we want to make sure that we're not asking these guys that they're doing
Correct,
something
correct.
that's.
There's expectations
that
that are,
they're not supposed to
Right.
do, correct.
So we.
I can get you that
never-
myself. So don't
Never,
even worry.
yeah, it's the contract, really, what we need to know what's in their contract, what are they supposed to be doing? Because pretty soon, we're gonna have a choice. Whether to do another RFP or, so what do we put in the RFP? We have to prepare for that, we don't meet all the time. So that we can prepare residents, what's the expectation?
Right.
I'll go through now. I can check hers when the discussion starts to take place and starts to go elsewhere and I can kind of back out of it a little bit. Eugenio and, I'm sorry.
Christopher Crespel.
Chris. I'll double check on, I can get those, I'll get you the full contract and then I'll also call out what page. You can see
That would make a lot
you
of
can see their duties. So you have the duty of the guard attendant and then roving service. What is their duties? And like I said, it wasn't, her last name's a little difficult. I don't know if you pulled it off the website or, but,
Well, the first time I emailed it was wrong.
so that's,
And
And
then
you
she
spent that.
didn't respond for like 2 weeks, and then I called here and I tried to speak with her, which I couldn't speak with her, she was never available. And then the second time someone checked it, it was wrong. So the next couple ones were correct.
Okay.
I had someone verify it.
I'll get
So
you
yes.
that.
But obviously I asked for it, obviously he's asked for it. So now you have 2 people that have
Yeah.
asked for it, so, you know.
I can send it to the entire board, if that makes it easier, so everybody has that contract on hand.
And I don't mind if you send them to Patrick.
Yeah, he'll give it to us.
He gives it to us.
By sunshine, I have to send it all individual. I can't send it,
Okay.
you can't send it on because those are matters you guys might discuss down the road or will discuss on the road. So you guys shouldn't be talking to one another.
No, we're not, but if you sent it to everybody at the same time, it would be correct, right?
Yeah, but I can get your email through Pat as well. And I
So,
do like
I
the
wanna make sure-
inspection. That can be done.
Want to make sure of something because we don't want that to be weaponized against us. So want to make sure it's clear. As long as he copies everybody on the board, we're fine to communicate and copy you out.
There shouldn't be any type of communication amongst you guys selves on anything that can come up as a discussion. So that's why whenever you get an email from me, it's GCC, you guys are all blinded as to who's receiving it, but it is going to the board. Now, if there's additional people that are not getting the emails that we want to add, I can talk to Pat about that and he can also have them added to the BCC list.
I don't, I just took a course for HOAs and it wasn't Holiday Night, I forgot the name, maybe it was Holiday Night. And I think that there's a mechanism where we can't make decisions. But if they're like, if he has to alert us about something or
Remember, this is sunshine law, so it's public dollars, not so much private dollars, and HOA is a private entity.
Okay,
Now, we're talking the town, it's a public entity. So that's why all the communications of this committee meetings have to be in the sunshine. So to follow sunshine law.
so if he copies you in the email, would that,
Yeah, that, he can write to me, but he cannot communicate via email to you guys. On items that you will be discussing, if it's personal matters, picnics coming up and that's an HOA.
no, I'm, so in terms of town business. If he sends an email to you and copies all of us, he can't do that?
Send it to me and then I can BCC everyone myself.
Okay,
That's the clearest way of making it simple. That way, there's no one can ever say, this was not an item that was gonna be discussed, this was gonna be an item discussed. If it comes from me and then blind copies everybody, so that people don't, the blind copies just so people don't start answering.
the problem that we're having before is that
Disclose meetings.
no, and nobody will respond. So if you imagine, they wouldn't respond to him. 3 months go by. We're all in the dark.
Who would respond? You got me.
The person that, elaborately, whatever her name was, I'm sorry, she did not respond. Patrick, am I right or wrong?
She didn't respond to me.
She just didn't respond. I mean, she would respond, sometimes it was hit or miss. And sometimes, like security, it's a,
No, it's urgent matter.
kind of urgent, yeah.
No, not kind
So,
of. It is. So, but moving forward, that's not what's going to happen. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm gonna still be CC'd even while we transition with the new individual. And I'll stay on board for a good amount of time until he has his wings under him and he can manage it. But answering emails should not be a concern. And if it was, that's something that we definitely make sure, we won't have hiccups on again. And like I said, after this meeting, I will give you, all you guys that don't have my email, my card, I will give you my card. Feel free to email me at any time. I have my email on me all day, every day. So if there's an issue, and that's why I would like to highlight is, if you see something at 10 o'clock at night, odds are if I get that email, I'm gonna send it immediately to the Kent dispatch. If I get an email about a guard gate, I'll send the email right then and there, so that first thing in the morning, dispatch for the repair crew already knows. So, to that, yes, it has to be in the sunshine, cannot be discussing things with one another. And if there's anything pressing, you can let me know and I can reach out to Pat and hey, I've got any conversations with somebody from the board in the matter of this. We want to add it to the agenda, do we not? And we can also bring up items that maybe you guys want to bring up, but he's not aware of.
and by all means, I'm an open book, so you can use my name. If I get in contact with you, I don't mind you saying.
No, that's,
Gene said X, Y, and Z because
but that's
that
just,
way everybody knows.
that's just more so for the same thing, for the same sunshine. I don't want him saying, oh, this is coming from you, and then it comes down for a vote, and he already knows your stance. The goal is that everyone should have the same information at the same time when we start a meeting.
All right, fair enough.
Okay,
That's what I got on service, what is it,
service and other security services.
yes, and then I guess this kind of leads into eventually the budget review, but, I know that was brought up, we're looking at potentially an adjustment with July ending the contract for Kent, with one renewal left. Is there considerations, or are we starting to lean towards considerations of other vendors? Is that kind of the toll and the tone that's taken up the past few meetings?
Well, certainly entertain. We do like the individuals that are affiliated with, they've been with us forever and they take pride in their work, so we like that. But, everybody's welcome to, make a bid and see how they can best service us. There's one company that like to entertain a bid. But we certainly like the people to stay on that have been better on issues.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
May I? So I thought that right now, what was on the table was that we can renew Kent for about a year.
Mhm.
It's like an option.
Correct.
In their contract. And the cost is locked in for that year. It's
Correct.
already set at
Yeah.
that point in time. And then during that year, that will give us time to set the appropriate scope. And I don't know how the other board members feel about that, but, or are we looking at trying to replace them now and getting somebody else to come up?
Well, in previous meetings, I think we moved forward with, all right, we'll renew with them for that one more year, just.
Right, that was what I thought, right?
You, they're coming in next. It's, there's gonna be an increase. substantially, what we've been warned, and I have no doubt about that, so we thought, well, they're making the improvements, they're coming to terms with what we're calling them out on, and, we can stay with them for another year if the locked-in price in contract.
With regards to this, I have a question. What's very important that I like to look at in the document is and this is just a feeling.
Mhm.
I think that the police force is relying too much on our security forces not to do policing, but that we're being watched. And there's not enough policing, and maybe this is a separate issue, maybe I don't even know if we can bring it up now, but it has to do with the guard gate. Where they're not coming in frequently. And one of the officers that came to one of the meetings here or spoke on the phone, he said that there wasn't a rule, or maybe it was the major that told me that they would come here at least twice a night, they would try to make a round. And that wasn't happening because they didn't have enough forces or something to that effect. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
No, I
Okay, that conversation.
I can bring it back up to the LT. I believe he was on the phone. It might have been the lieutenant. I can bring it back up to him and see if that is the case. But that would be a PD operation, police. But I'll go ahead and I can confirm that, and I can also send that as an update in my email to Pat, and that way he can go ahead and we can disseminate to everybody.
Yeah, because I think, and that's why that scope is very important, because can they challenge someone that's coming in? There have been rumors that no, they can't do anything. They can just they have to let everybody in. Those things have to be very, very clear. And I think even Kent needs a refresher. I think that might go a long way to solve a lot of the problems that we have. And if the police are coming on a routine basis, I don't know, how do you guys feel about that?
No, I love it when they make run through the neighborhood. More
Yeah.
the merrier.
I'll check on the frequency of roving service on the PD behalf. As far as the gate attendants, yes, it's a public road. They cannot deny the access. However, if there's anything off in their stipulations of their scope, anything that seems off, they should be preparing a report for it. An individual that has gone 3 or 4 times within an hour, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and there's something
Okay.
off.
So I got a question for you. In the last year, how many reports have they given?
Reports are pulled upon request. So if there's an issue, like PD sometimes uses it,
No, not PD. Then, how many times have they reported, hey,
I'd have to take a look and go look. I wasn't managing that for the past 6 or 7 months, so I'd have to take a look myself.
I don't think there's any that I'm aware of. And I think that's part of the problem. It's strange to me that between 10 o'clock, we're seeing all these issues and there's no reports. Hey, we found strange individual.
The one thing and it goes back to the 10 PM, which is a great call out, operation on our end to think about, but during the day, Destin has my personal cell phone, so anything that comes up that he has an issue with, I'm made aware immediately. Sometimes they don't make it to a report, but they get taken care of right then and there. So like the instance of, I think it was a landscape truck that took out the bollards. As soon as I got the call, I let handyman know we have 4 in inventory, go swap out the 2 that were crushed. And they swapped them out right then and there. So there are those reports that kind of gets buffered by the fact that Destin's so good and he knows who to contact immediately. So we handle it quickly. But yes, to your point, I'll take a look and see if there are any evening reports that were generated on Kent's behalf without a request and take a look at that.
Right.
And that is something that we do see with our other districts. Reports are kind of being sent regardless, even if they're not requested.
How successful you're in recovering all the funds for when people break all those things?
It's difficult. It's a it's a very, very time consuming process. We actually last time were discussing with, I think, one of the members here, that's an attorney, and we were looking at different routes to go after it. We have been successful and to be honest with you, the main quick, easy ones, straight hit it, weren't paying attention. They're the ones that are quicker to pay it. But the ones that are, I slightly tapped it, how did it become this much money? It becomes a back and forth before eventually it goes to insurance. At that point, it goes to insurance. And then that can be a while, following up on the insurance. And I'll tell you, I did it for a year and something, and it was difficult. We got the money, but it took us months on months on months.
And hours.
Yeah.
Manpower, I mean.
Yes. And they live for you not to miss a call. So you miss one call and you won't hear from the insurance for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. But that is something that me and Christina spoke about probably 4 or 5 months ago. And we were trying to find a way, working with our attorney as well, how can we streamline this? How can it be something directly from the town, immediate, you need to pay this, and or we go straight to insurance?
And also back to what he was saying, when you give us the scope of work, we could ask them every month to forward him as the president, whatever had occurred that month. So on a monthly basis.
Yeah, and that's where it goes back to, I can send those monthly updates if that's something
You
you guys
guys
want.
don't have to read it and see what, because they could say, no, we don't have to do that. We don't know if they have to or not. So since we don't know what they do and don't have to do, once you give us that scope of work, we'll get we'll be able to say, what they do or don't have to do. But right now, no one knows what they have to do. To be honest with you, I don't know what they have to do.
Yeah, it's
You know?
getting you the contract is the least of my work. I
Right.
can get that done immediately.
Right.
And then just looking at, I ran quick numbers earlier, and these aren't final, but it's about, let me see if I feel like this. Looking at the most current contract that was just pulled up in 2021 for security services, the increase is about. This is just so as we talk budget on the road, when we start getting ready to formulate next year's budget, you guys are aware. Minus 86. It's about a $18,000 increase. And that's a 2020, either 2020, I think it's a 2022 contract. For one of the districts that just switched their service provider as well.
Anyone know how many homes in Loch Lomond? 88.
At the top here, yeah.
It's $95.
I think that was all I had on that.
So right now we have the option to continue them for one more year or,
Yeah, under a contract that's already been established, but it's an option to extend.
and why don't we see what the other company can offer us? Because, just to be prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, that number I pulled was current contract rates, and they just provided another proposal for their district to add service. So that was adding roving, so I was able to put the patrol price and their hourly rate. And that's that number I came up with $18,000 more. You guys are operating at about 386, about 500. The total was about 406. 40. Give me a second.
These two companies, when they come to put their bids in, it's all writing, or is it verbal? Like, can these new companies meet with us?
It's all
Give a
right.
speech as to what they could offer, what they can offer, what they can offer.
They typically, once awarded is when they meet.
Oh, yeah, that's after the fact.
The whole point of it is the whole point of these bids is so that you don't have a wow factor of a great speaker and the numbers stand on their own. Now, once you meet with them, when your first customer rep, you can go ahead and work that out with them. This is services that we want to make sure, this is monthly reporting, we want part of it. Part of the contract, as you see, there is reporting standards, incident reporting standards. So there are baseline things that we can, once I send that out tomorrow morning, I can send that out, we can look at it. At our next meeting where we hope to define the budget, we can already have some of these questions answered on scope, and we can look at what we want to be doing moving forward. But typically your bid, you won't see anybody until after.
I think one of the things that we were thinking about doing is in order to do that, you have to prepare an RFQ process. And then you put in there like
Yeah,
extra services, hey,
Yeah.
we want you to water my lawn every Tuesday.
And you can put additional services that we're not binded to. So you
Right.
can have that set aside, that
And give you a price
fixed
for it.
rate is already closed in there. They have to obtain that if you choose to go with that service.
And once we start the process, I mean, it's not like we know Kent's doing this and someone matches for the year. You have to restart the whole. That's the way it was explained to me before. It wasn't like,
In what sense?
What happens with the Kent contract? Like, do we lose, first of all, do we lose that pricing that we have now?
If you terminate, you
Not
choose to
terminate, not terminate, but if we decide to bid,
to do a study, yeah.
No, I mean, you haven't given them a notice to terminate.
I wasn't, that
That's not how it was
that was not
explained.
explained to him that way or me, or last, one of the times.
So essentially, let's say you wanted to
We want to find out what ABC. is.
Well, I can already tell you what ABC is, because I have that contract, right?
Well, I
You
didn't
just-
mean to say.
Yeah. No, I'm saying ABC is not a company.
Okay.
ABC is not a company. I can tell you, and that's why I'm telling you, this just came back from a bid that went out, and pricing that came back at a new contract. 2022, last year, one of the districts that we manage just went away from their current provider to a new provider, and that was the best rate that was selected. And that's that impact you see. Now, if you want to go for P, and take a look at it, or actually, I'm sorry, it would be an ITV, just so we get pricing, you can still do that. Except the only thing is you're kind of tipping your hat to your vendor, and I don't know what the relationship might be after.
I got you, but to his point, if we wanted to see what ABC does,
When you say due, remember, due is based on.
price, no,
Okay.
what they're, like, to get another price from another vendor. We
There's
can still
no,
do that, and it
there's-
doesn't affect anything with,
there's no issues with market analysis.
So can we also find out what the other communities within Miami Lakes, if they use security, like how are those security companies doing?
I think that's great.
Do they like them? Do they not like them? What are the problems that we have so that we don't end up with the same problems? Or just to share that information, if that's helpful.
Easiest way I can tell you, is you can look at their meetings, and you can hear whenever they bring up their security service updates monthly. You can see how they talk about it freely. The other way is, right now, only one other community has a good amount of feedback from the residents. They have about 78 responses to their survey. You can see what the community is saying about their level of service with specific to guards. I can pull that data for you. But anything else, I don't want to speak out of turn. It's kind of their opinions.
No, just, but for us, we can
Yeah,
talk to the other homeowners.
We got to go to their meetings.
Go to their meetings,
Talk to the board.
or get the meeting up, get the numbers of the presidents.
You can
so
get,
we
you can get their name and their emails. I can go ahead and provide that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You can ask.
I'll get you the chair of the two other committees, and they can talk about the progress of their vendors.
But that doesn't stop us from getting a price from someone else now.
No? And essentially what you would look at is just an hourly rate. And then typically for security services of this nature, you're gonna look for three things. The guard hourly rate, I think everybody in the town is level 2 guards. Everybody's gotten accepted that as far as the different districts. You will look at what the price for a golf cart roving is, additional, and you will look at the additional patrol car. Those are really the three main prices you look at. Now, as far as, what is this called? Post duties, you can define those. We can adjust those during the contract time. And as long as it's nothing that is unreasonable to a security guard for level 2, they would have to abide by it, or they can go ahead and challenge it and we can work it out. But essentially, the job duties, we can list.
Okay.
And then they choose to accept or not accept when it comes time to authorize a contract. Let me just make sure email chair from other entities. On security service. Yeah.
I know we have landscaping, before lighting, love to do lighting first, but. I guess
I mean, technically, you can open up the order of business.
I'd like to stick with the lighting because it kind of coincides with security and what's happening in the neighborhood with regards to a system.
Okay,
I know we probably need to audit our lighting system throughout the community, that it serves that and for us. However, part of the issue that security guards are dealing with, you have a back area. It's not really. We feel it kind of coincides with it. That's why I'm bringing it up tonight about getting this extra light.
when we say backside.
Of the, on Glen Eagle.
So north, okay, so we're talking about the north side.
Yeah.
Okay,
Glen Eagle barely reaching 67.
okay, almost Aberdeen kind of over there, yeah.
Right here. I'm
That's
sorry.
already-
Probably where our most challenge is.
Okay,
Right there.
Probably 100% it is.
Yeah.
something definitive.
There you go.
So what I will do, as your acting liaison, I'm gonna pass it on to Public Works as far as what they can do. Remember, our job here is holistically the security sentinel service of the guardhouse. That's more of a utilities and public works aspect, but is the concern no lighting or ineffective levels of lighting?
In effect.
So there is current lights back in that corner.
Not sure.
No, in the back of the corner, no.
That's what I want to.
Back in the corner, no, maybe.
There's that FPL pole, it's just not, doesn't light it.
But that's
it's
on the other
visually-
On the other side, it's for the other neighborhood. Not, it's not in Loch Lomond.
No, I believe there's one on one side of the gate and there's another one on our side.
Is there?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
Yeah, right next to the tree, right next to the tree, there's a post and there is one on the other side of the gate. There are two. Yeah. It's just, it's still dark, but there is one.
I'll follow up directly with the director on lighting the northeast corner, and I'll see what can be done. Trying to think this through also. Now I can request and see it, and these, just to make sure, there's also, there's sidewalks in this area, right? So there's public access and sidewalk technically, so pedestrian. Okay. I know how to phrase it with them, but I'll look up and get an update for you guys on that as well. But it's gonna be more of a function of the public works side. Now, as far as the lighting at the gatehouse, that was my, I had a written question originally. Is there an issue with the lighting at the gatehouse by any means?
Not aware of it.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure, when I saw that lighting up there, I was like, was there, I actually drove through there the other day, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and it looked pretty bright in the guardhouse, so.
It's just for the protection of the community.
Oh, definitely.
This, it's an issue back.
Can I ask you, I don't like question, you put barbed wire on top of that fence? No? Is that illegal?
Yeah, that's not, I'll take a look at it legally, but I can tell you that's something that's not done, anywhere else in town.
So what? Yeah, I don't care if it's done anywhere else.
And I wanna say it's typically, there's precedence for why it's not done, but I can look into it.
Well, the fence.
You guys do. The maintenance of it and the ownership of that, when you say fence, you're talking about the wall there along,
I think a little.
Right on that corner, put on barbed wire, put a warning on, danger.
I can take a look at that if that's something you guys want me to do, but, I can tell you.
Climbing over the fence, oh.
Or poison ivy.
Yeah.
Oh, a joke. No,
Well, yeah.
oh,
Plus snakes.
Barbed wire up there, then.
Just to add that, when we're talking about securing the front door, yet leaving the back door open,
Mhm.
really doesn't make any sense. You can have armed police at the front gate, and if some guy is jumping over the back fence, which seems to be what's happening, or one of the main issues, there's gotta be something, whether it's barbed wire or raising the fence where it's not that easy to climb over. The lighting, and there are two homes on either side of there, and I'm sure somebody doesn't wanna have a giant light in their front yard.
That's how we know it's coming, because they're catching it on.
And I think one of the homes is a police officer or retired police officer. It's just, if that's our main security threat, besides the fact that we're on a golf course where anybody can walk in at any time. But it does seem, I mean, people tell me, they say, oh, we see people walking in from Ludlam and jumping the fence and, well, that's crazy. That's crazy. And we're worried about, roaming car in the front gate, and meanwhile, it's no wider than this room. Probably less where that gate is, and that's a security leak there. That has to be resolved.
What was the
Whether it's
legal
barbed
issue?
wire or electrical or guard dog, something's gotta be done there. Because to spend all the money on all the other stuff and cameras and license plates and some jerk with a hoodie on, with a hood over it, jumps over the fence and goes riding around stealing packages from people's homes. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, to that, I'll follow up before I even go anywhere legally. I'll talk directly with PD on that, and talk about fence enhancements, defensive mechanisms that can be approved, so. So that is a good point, that we focus on the gate and overall security, while it may not fall within the directive of this advisory board, I can definitely work on it with the PD side and see what else we can do. Or what is allowed to be done too, because at the end of the day, it's your wall. So what are you guys allowed to do up to? And some of it might be governed by code, so that's what I wanna put a note here for.
Yeah,
code.
no, I mean, he said barbed wire, but maybe.
Yeah,
there's
elevated.
Some other type of, I'm sure we're not the only ones that have had this problem. Another thing that's been brought up to me by residents is through the golf course. And one of the things that I noticed is that that it's under construction and there's free access into the golf course from 154.
Mhm.
So that people can walk freely through where the hotel used to be. It's completely open. By night, kids, whatever, it's just free access to those homes, like where Patrick lives, or if they jump to the other side where he lives and so forth. I don't know if that's something that we can advise. Maybe the other, the golf course, that, hey, you should have some kind of gate or something on your side. The last 2 or 3 that I heard on the chat were coming from the golf course, somebody on a bike or something. Do I remember?
Maybe they don't wanna be able to-
I'm sure they don't want people going through the golf course. So there might be some issues there.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll touch base and see, on the Graham side, as far as securing the golf course. I have to take a look at the construction.
I don't think it's to secure the golf course. I think it's access to their property.
Correct, and then that's if, so you're saying basically, like, if they can secure the access from the parking lot to the golf course by closing that and not making them even allow into the golf course.
It's never been closed. That the main entrance to come into what used to be Shula's
Right.
has never.
But there used to be somebody at the hotel. There's
But that-
nobody there anymore.
Right.
So before, they had their own security in the hotel.
For the
For the
hotel.
hotel, but they're just not gonna let anybody just walk in. Now, there's no hotel, there's no residents there. So
Definitely make that, that's a good thing to, yeah.
that's just an issue that I
think that's, those are good ideas, but it's gonna be so difficult. Because if you look at it, because I've been thinking about it too, and I've been jogging through, I've been looking, there's so many areas that are vulnerable, that are really impossible. I mean, there's solutions to it, but it's probably gonna cost more. Because if you think about it, as you're going, when you're coming into our neighborhood,
Yeah,
that wall,
anybody can walk there.
yeah, that whole wall, all the way to the, you can jump everywhere, everywhere. All around, so it's impossible to do anything there. Now,
But our security guard can see something and they can
No.
call, no?
they can't see it, they can't.
No, because I have a townhouse, in the other, not the one that's right, I have the other one. And they can't see that far.
No,
No.
that's what, no, hold on. I think what he's saying is on Turnberry, Is it Turnberry?
Yeah, but as you're coming in, right, and then to the left, that whole wall that goes.
They
all-
can't see there.
No, wait.
Especially when you go in the middle, you go to the very end,
There
whatever.
are trees there.
Unless you have like security in the golf course that is roaming.
But I'm thinking of somebody
On both
that,
sides.
the attacks, whatever. Watching too much Twitter and stuff. Disconnect myself from it. I think, because I was driving through there. It's kind of like anybody can drive in there
Yeah.
and they can go in there
Yeah.
on that side.
Yeah.
It's just a suggestion, even for their property, right? There used to be some type of check. Because there were people at the hotel when, that's just a temporary thing, because when construction happens and they have what they're gonna have there, then they'll stop people from coming
But
in.
I just wanted, because, with all the constructions going on with the new golf course and everything that they're doing, are they thinking of having security after all that's done? Because there's gonna be apartments there.
And that's a good discussion I want to have as well. So right now, and great point. Did we see an uptake since they started construction with some of these incidents? And you said you've seen people exiting that way. Have we
Yeah,
seen an uptake?
there's been an uptake,
Okay,
at least on the reporting side. But, is it because crime is going up? Is it because,
no, but it's good so they know as well that it's kind of like on their end, hey, we've seen this uptake and it's since the construction happened. Because if somebody gets hurt there, yes, they shouldn't have been there, but in the day, it's still gonna be their property. I'm sure they want to know and see if they
yeah,
can.
look, we wanna be good neighbors.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
not looking at,
No, it's not it's a partnership, right? We're trying to help each other here.
I think it would make sense, they wouldn't want people just roaming through the porch. Okay. At night.
And they don't have security or anything at night anyways. Now, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years ago, they've never had 24-hour security on that golf course.
Yeah, the bigger thing is really the overnight. During the day, they have operators there and they have people there, so.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll definitely broach the conversation and see on there and if there's anything, and also to find out the long term, right? Are they gonna increase now with they're adding all these assets and adding all this infrastructure, they're gonna want to increase the security, and that may be something long-term that's gonna help us.
Go to landscape.
Landscape, so we, took over from Christina at the end of February. We are actually finalizing the count of replacing and what we're gonna be taking care of. So we'll be replacing what was damaged and not brought back. As far as the junipers, that's the green bushes behind the signage. But we'll be taking care of that issue. The flower swap out happened at the beginning of March. Other than that, I don't have any other notes. The only one note was making sure that the town was able to go ahead and rectify the issue on those junipers that died out with the previous vendor, and we will be taking care of that. Right now, I spoke with the staff, superintendent earlier today. We're probably looking about 15 days out. I've seen that swap,
All right. And it's gonna be swapped with,
like for like. So the missing plans that aren't coming back, they'll be swapped out like for like. And I know that long term, we were looking at, once we get this back to being stable, if there's anything we wanted to adjust, we'll look at the enhancements then. But right now, the goal was to bring it back to what it should have been. Making sure that it didn't affect your guys' budget.
Well, we talked about the inspection, the survey. Did everybody get a chance to open that survey?
So I sent it, and it's not so much to open it, but I'll read through the questions. What I took a look at is, essentially, the notes in the minutes show that you guys just discussed the town was in the works for a survey. So what the survey is, if it wasn't explained to you before, is essentially it's an annual right track, wrong track. This is something that is actually approved by council resolution. They want to make sure that all residents have a chance to provide their input and make sure that the goal and the heart of the NSDs stays aligned with what the goal was when it was transferred from the county on over. So the goal is to see, making sure that we're doing things that the people obviously want to be done with their guardhouse. Questions are very simple. Did Christina ever go through the questions with you guys?
No, this is the first.
Perfect, perfect. So that's why I wanted to print it out, send it to you so you can see it. That link is live, but we shouldn't be putting it into the community just yet. Now, just so you guys can go ahead and access and see it yourselves.
Okay.
The first question is, this is how it's gonna read. Please complete the survey so that the advisory committee and the town council can gauge the effectiveness of the advisory committee. Please limit the scope of your response to the guard gate matters only. Number one, overall rating for the past year, October 21 to September 2022. We're doing it along our fiscal year. That's why that timeline is aligned with that. The answer there can be below average, satisfactory, above average, excellent. Two, did you attend any NSD board meetings? Yes, no, I attended the amount, or I watched virtually. Those are the four options there. If you have attended NSD board meetings, how many? That's an open answer. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many. How do you prefer being notified of these meetings? Town website, mail out, and in parentheses, it says be associated. So they understand that we can't go crazy mailing things out because every time you mail out, it affects your budget. The Miami Laker, which we place mainly budget, is where we're making sure that for sure they're on there. But if we have a pre-planned schedule, which we're going to get back to, as far as our meetings, they'll also go in circulation with the Miami Laker. From an HOA member or neighbor, and from A-frame signs. So that we can put that up the week of a meeting and let them know that this week, on Wednesday, we have a meeting at 7 p.m. and so forth. 5, do you want to keep or change the current guard gate company? That's something we ask across the board with all of our NSDs. And then 6, please provide feedback on services rendered in your district. Good or bad, we want to hear it. And that's an open answer question. So it's very basic, it's to the point. We want to make sure that, are we trending in the right direction? Do we know if our guard gate service being provided is adequate? And then the real other one is, we also want to see why is there not such a great jump in participation, whether it be virtually or whether it be in person. We want to try to gauge also how we can best reach those individuals so we can increase the attendance at these meetings.
Oh, sorry, I missed it. So the survey, how is it being
Disseminated. So right now, the goal, what we've always done is mail outs. So a one-time mail out. In that, we can go ahead and put the next meeting, the next agenda if we already have it. The proposed budget, once we approve it at the next meeting. And then it just goes on, has a survey link. And also I would go ahead and put the QR code. They can just scan the QR code and immediately do it through their phone.
Here's the mailing list come from.
The mailing list is through the property appraiser. So the same way we get the non-ad valorem tax rolls, which is property address by property address, it's sent that way. Questions, comments, anything you want me to add? Remember this is the basic version. If there's something that we want to see as far as feedback, we can adjust, I can add questions.
Yeah, so after we receive that survey, we will like analyze it and figure out what, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll grab it, it breaks it down for me, we use SurveyMonkey, it's very simple.
Yep.
It'll break down 97 responses, out of 97 responses, question one had an 86% approval rate. And it'll just give me all the statistics for it, and we can take a look. And the good thing is also we get sometimes here and there some little golden nuggets, on the free-for-all answer. And it'll tell us, maybe we should consider this, and maybe it's something that we've never looked at before.
How much of a response do you get? Like, what's your response rate?
That response rate that we're just still getting, probably close it out in the next month, for section one, Miami Lake section one, probably the highest. So they have 841 homes. Right now, we're at 70, as of last week, we're at 77 responses. Not a huge response rate,
It's like a 1%.
but it's 77 responses is good. Now on our lakes, that is 70 people, 70 homes, 112 homes. Combined, we've gotten like 12 responses. So it's just hit or miss. But the goal is on our end, we want to make sure, obviously, you guys are volunteering your time, you guys are here to better your community. We want to make sure that we're hearing what it is that the community wants. And the other side of it is, it's kind of adopted by resolution, where we got to do it annually.
I guess one comment I want to make regarding this question, they were good. But if we're coming here and discussing Garden Gate District, but as you well pointed out, part of guarding our community involves this lighting. And you're trying to block it by saying, oh, public works.
Definitely not trying to block it. I'm here to help you guys.
Yeah, and I
I'm here to help you
appreciate that, but you know, that almost goes hand in hand. So somehow we need direct access. If you're gonna divide us, then somehow we gotta have an access to say, listen, the lighting here,
Remember,
it's the complaints.
the management
So if
of,
somebody complains on this, and they know, well, this has nothing to do with the lighting, so where do they voice that complaint?
and that's where we use, and the responses are meant to be anonymous, they can't sign it, they can't sign off if they want to. But essentially, that's the same way if you see a pothole, right? You'd reach out directly to the town and we go ahead and put you in contact with it. Remember, your guys' NSD is governed by the adoption of the ordinance. The ordinance that was issued by the county stipulates exactly what you guys can govern and what can be governed. It said that there, it's Sentinel Security Services. And it's for anything that was created for that Sentinel service. So in this case, the guardhouse. The guardhouse is under your jurisdiction as far as changing fixtures, lights, windows, doors, all that. Lighting external isn't part of the direct Sentinel service. But like I said, at the end of the day,
You're gonna get answers based on,
correct?
and it's gonna be a falsified.
Well, and that's why there's also sections where they can leave a comment. So if it's not so good or not doing well, they can leave a comment if it's something from completely out. I mean, we've seen some crazy things there. Like I've seen also in security services, they're talking about tree stuff. And I'll route the complaints to my arbor coordinator, but at the end of the day, it's not being weighed on those responses. Those outliers that do affect, so let's say 18 people, let's say, would have said arbor, that's why things aren't good. We can look at the statistics and weigh that and say that there's 18 responses skewing this kind of answer.
That's what I'm referring to, like just regular street pole lighting.
Well, there's been comments about that, one, trees overgrowing, blocking the
So we
light.
trees the lights. don't
People
come
that are
on.
walking it, they're telling you, why is it so
Well,
dark in this area?
that is a
And then we
problem.
do have that circle at the end that we just discussed, be allowed to discuss further on it. Right, we're
Well-
talking about gardening. This,
That's a good point. I mean, I think as us as neighbors, we need to do whatever we can to help the community. I mean, I lit up my house in the corner because nobody else lit their houses. So if you go my corner,
You got a stadium.
I have a stadium, but then I got a complaint, that, hey, can you please put your lights down or move them to a different direction? From the person that has no lights all over his house, like, listen, I'm trying to protect the whole corner for everybody here. So I'm like, okay,
oh, no, it's street light, we're not talking.
okay,
Now what other people are doing.
got it,
You
got
don't,
it.
no, not that. I'm like,
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
what Patrick's trying to say is that he feels that it's kind of, and look, you're the guy here, so you're the guy we're talking to. We appreciate your time and I want you to know that. And this is a lot easier meeting than some of the past meetings, I'll be honest. So I'm kind of gonna miss the fact that you're not gonna be doing it anymore. It's gonna be somebody.
Oh, you'll still see me for a good amount of time.
Okay. But it seems like it's weaponized a little bit, right? And because that lighting is tied to that security. Look at it from Kent's perspective. I'm surprised that they haven't come back and says, look, I don't, scared to patrol.
We can't see.
I can't see. You know,
If you guys, the guard gate was demolished, was no service, would those lights still be there?
oh, I would imagine, well.
So
there
it's
used to
not,
be an
it's
issue.
not tied to the sentinel service, and I'm only talking
Yeah,
legalities,
But the
and what's
guard gate
governed.
could- but the guard could say, you're not allowing me to go through my contract because you're not providing sufficient lighting. That's not my responsibility to provide light.
And that's a conversation we can have as far as foot candle levels, and if there's anything actually regulating what is
No,
security service.
they gotta cut the trees. The trees are blocking it's like.
Well, that is a problem. No, that is.
That solves.
And that's something that I can handle on my other side, outside of NSD,
Yeah.
I can manage that side, so we can go
That's
ahead and
30
take
or
care of
40% of it. There's some places that are.
Cut the trees and I can lower my lights.
Well,
It's a give and take, it's a give and take.
More sun's gonna come in.
No, I was expecting in public comment, some people to be here, to drive them out lighting. And in the parks too, and I know why you don't have them in the park, but. Now, things have advanced as far as criminality, and maybe that needs to be rethought too, but. I was expecting that conversation to come forward tonight during public comment, but anyway.
And I wanna be very clear, in no way is it being weaponized. I mean, I'm still gonna take it as if I got a call directly to my office and, hey, I'm at this park and 2 blocks away from the park, I'm walking back and it's extremely dark. I would still make sure I went, spoke with Public Works, have them go ahead, take a look. Is there a true light concern? Is this impeding any safety precautions with residents walking? The same way if it were a tree root that's lifting the sidewalk, I'm gonna go do that same route. So it doesn't fall on deaf ears. It's just when it comes to the actual scope that is allowed within this gate district advisory committee, that's what we have to stick to. I will still be here to help you. I answer your calls, your texts. I'm here to help you guys. I'm here to help you guys. But we can't,
appreciate it.
yeah, and we can't, what I want to be clear is we can talk about it, you can voice it. I'm here to, I am, for your guys' purposes, I'm the face of the town to help you with anything town related. Now, when it comes to what we can vote on, what we can try to allocate budget, that stuff, we are limited in what we can do. So pointing out, lighting concerns to me, by all means, you guys live there, wish I lived there, but separate conversation.
Like to have you one day.
You guys are there all the time, so you guys are my eyes and ears. So anything you see, even if it doesn't relate to the NSD, feel free to reach out. Feel free to reach out. But to the lighting, I will continue to follow it up with Public Works, and I'll see what can be done, and I'll report back with on their end what can be done. Anything on the questions? Anything you wanted to throw in there?
I like the questions.
Yeah. So if it's okay with you guys, I'll go ahead and you can let's see here. Do we want to go ahead and today, when we talk about budget a little bit, and have a proposed budget for next meeting, do you want me to hold off on sending the survey and the mailer out to go with the next meeting's agenda, proposed budget, and the survey link? That way we take care of one mailer and kind of handles all of this.
Sense.
Yes, it doesn't get lost.
Yeah, perfect. And that way we'll give a heads up too. I'll let you guys know when it's gonna be going out, so you guys can invite your neighbors. Hey, you're gonna get a letter from the town. It's not a code violation. Relax. Go ahead, take a look at it. And that way we can get that back, and also we can already make sure that they're aware that we'll be talking budget at the next meeting. All right. We can skip B because we already took care of it. On the election side, I know that it was taken care of in December. But just for the record, since we haven't had a meeting this calendar year, our committees have to adopt their chairs and vice president and secretaries annually. So just for the point of clarity. That again? Yeah.
But they haven't done it with the town.
But correct, I just want to read into the record in 2023. So as of right now, I don't have it. And you guys are a little different, as in your HOA is your advisory board, and whatever's adopted by HOA is adopted in there, but I'm just reading into the record. And you mentioned earlier, president for this coming term will continue to be Patrick Kunkel, vice president Angel Alvarez, Our treasurer will be Michelle Leon. Okay? And then we do have kind of support roles with security chair Eugene Ochoa and our late chairman Albert Perez. I just want to go ahead and,
And then we
once
have
again,
Chris Crespo on that.
well, this is just, I'm reading out the officers.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the officers. So just, as always, I appreciate all you guys volunteering. The town obviously appreciates you guys giving extra time so that we're all on the same page. And we can do a better job of the town behalf providing better services. And on your end, you guys can go ahead and go back to your fellow neighbors and those that you help assist with the governance of your HOA and this board and talk freely with them that we're here to listen to them and hear them out. All right. All we got left is the budget review. So the budget that I had sent you guys is the most up-to-date budget of this year, after the carry forward that just took place now. And what the goal for today really is, if there is anything we are considering, that you guys want to see for next year's budget, this would be the time to bring it up so that we can prepare those amendments and you can see what actual numbers would be like. If there was, let's say, you wanted to increase security, or if you wanted to go away from printing and binding, you guys have it at, I want to say it's 2 mailers. If you guys wanted to increase mailers, if there's anything of that nature, this will kind of be the time to take a look at it so that we can better prep it for the next meeting and have a proposed fiscal year 23-24.
That's ours.
That's ours.
That's ours.
Yeah,
What
kinda-
options are available? Say we wanted to have 5 cars riding around.
yeah.
Is that
It's
an
just-
option?
Yeah, you'd be paying the guards,
that's more.
you'd be paying their hourly and then the vehicles hourly, but it's
So we could have that if we wanted to, if we wanted to pay for it.
correct. Now, let me also be clear of the second component of this. As an advisory board, all this is brought to the attention and brought up to the council for ratification. So you can propose how you see fit, and the board can propose how they see fit, as far as what they want to see in their district. It could be 6 guards and 2 golf carts and 2 vehicles. And at the end of the day, it's up to the council will be the final say in approving that budget or not.
And you said level 2 guards. What's a level 2 guard? Is there a level 1, a level 3?
That level 2 is the higher one, so it's just the amount of experience they have, so that it's not greener, newer guards. These have more experience, they carry typically, a little bit more education as well, and additional certification in the security business.
And there's no such thing as a level 3.
Not that it's avidly put out, then you start getting into almost like a PI service.
So if we could define an option, we might not necessarily get it because you have to approve it, you, the council.
The council would approve it, town council. And then just, I mean, calling, to this date, the council haven't gone against any advisory boards.
So we could have 2 or 3 cars if we wanted to pay for it.
That is for your discretion to be brought up and then eventually approved on the days.
I believe also if there's a certain size increase, we have to have a.
Correct.
Straw.
So if there's a 15% increase holistically, there'll be a straw ballot that goes out.
Where everybody have to vote.
Correct.
And do you have to have quorum to vote? Like, there has to be a certain percentage, or it's just,
No, it's a one-time special election that gets sent out.
This says here, security services vehicle, that's, we defining vehicle as a car.
Correct. The other one would be parked.
Explain the second line there, the 5% adjustment.
So the 5% adjustment is just a plus or minus for those individuals that pay early, there's a discount, and then there's also those that pay late, and there's an increase fee. So it just accounts for that.
you account on that based on historical, how you're doing it?
The majority of it is based on historical, and then we'll take actuals mid-year. That's why you're seeing that adjustment there already, because this is the carry forward from what we saw the year before. So as it stands right now, obviously the large bulk is directly in your security services. There are direct and indirect costs for the administration and monitoring of the service, that's i.e. the town side of things. That includes the time for the liaison, the time for me as a director to make sure that they're doing what they should be doing, time for, a budget, she'll be here at the next meeting, to probably put everything in order, meet all county regulations, meet all trim notice. That goes for finance, for all accounts payables, accounts receivables, when we handle all the management of the security services. And then under that, you start to get in the janitorial, the cleaning of the guardhouse. You have the freight and postage, which is the mailers at 180, let's go ahead and do this.
If I understand this correctly, the budget's gonna go up for the next fiscal year, but we're not doing anything different with security.
That's your discretion, but if that's what that's what the conversation sounded like, that's what the conversation sounded like. Remember, this is this year's. This isn't the proposed for next year. This is just currently this year, so you can already start to look at numbers. If there's anything that seems off or you want to adjust, we can go ahead and adjust.
2,500.
So I guess
So-
it's just going up just because of inflation or everything just costs more.
What's going up?
Well, I'm just looking at comparing to 2021, 22, and then I'm looking at 23.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was looking at amended. I was looking at the bottom line, it's just what we're going for.
Yeah, that's just overtime. The contracts.
You have escalation in the contract?
There's CPI. I don't think the Kent older one carries a CPI increase, but our newer ones do. Obviously, we lessons learned from COVID. Remember,
So,
this contract is the 2019 contract.
so you're assuming that it's gonna go up to 515.
No, the 515 is the amended budget. That's what's budgeted for total expenditures.
That includes,
Correct, that's what at face value, if we expense everything that we budgeted for, that's what the total number will be. Now, it can be a little bit less, a little bit more at the year end. Once we close out everything, so right now, we haven't done any mailers, right? You have 546, that's an estimated amount for 5 mailers. At the old mailing rate. So if we wanted to go to 3 mailers, you have a savings there. If we don't use them all, obviously that'll be a savings. So last year, you guys had a savings of $3,080, and that just got rolled into your capital outlay, and actually got rolled into your infrastructure account. That is the total expenditures that are, yes, expected.
$40,000 in infrastructure, that's infrastructure for what?
So the board at one point was kind of holding a bankroll at looking at the potential of building a restroom along the guardhouse and or anything else to go ahead and enhance that guardhouse. But I think the main goal was to see how they can bring a restroom facility much closer to limit any delays in service, by going out to the golf course.
Yeah, this was sewer lines.
Sewer lines, correct. That's the biggest expense there.
We'll keep increasing that infrastructure to a certain number, and then what happens?
So right now, it's a kind of like it's a savings. I know the board also at one point discussed, or before I handed over to Tina, they were thinking about, you can release that. And in the sense of an assessment reduction. They've also thought about, since there wasn't, an amount to do the restroom, if there was any other considerations for guardhouse renovation.
That's what we talked about last week.
So the only other one, and Pat, thank you for bringing up the 15%, by the way, a straw ballot, but there's also one rule that you have to maintain at least 10% in contingency reserve. There's one resolution that requires that.
I thought the bathroom project was canned last time I heard.
That was my understanding as well.
It's canned, the money's still sitting.
The money's still sitting.
Yeah, yeah.
So we talked about that whenever we're ready,
Or use it for something else.
yeah.
That's a fortune, probably, on those
Well,
lines.
yeah, I mean, we're into 100. Last I knew, I think we were talking 130.
Yeah. And I think that we talk about wait to see what happens with the upgrades with the golf course and all of that, to see if that maybe just,
They have to upgrade those bathrooms for the.
they have to anyways, I would think.
They're golfers, they have to, it's pretty bad, right? What's in Miami Lakes residential in general, what's the security guard company used the most?
I don't know on the private side,
no, you want on private also, you want.
or you just want out of all,
No,
this is
like,
what we
like,
manage,
right.
the town manages.
no, the ones that like the homes, like, Royal Oaks.
Royal Palm
Royal Palm Estates, us, obviously us.
I'd have to do an inquiry on the HOAs that aren't managed by the town.
Yeah, one.
Those are the private ones that I have to look into.
depending on who everyone uses, because if it's,
It's not any better.
yeah, no, that's what I wanna see if they're any better or worse than.
I hear complaints all the
Yeah.
Well, that's why we need to know.
Yeah. Right, which is what I wanna know, because 95% of people say ABC is horrible. Right. Obviously, it's not. Yeah, I mean,
And that's why it goes back to why these surveys are also very vital for your decision-making process.
I think that part at some point, and I know we're going through the motions, and I agree the way we're doing it, but I think eventually. I've talked to like Gramercy Park and some of the people over there, and they have a lot of complaints too, and I think it's just not enough personnel. So you mentioned something about having 3 or 4 running around, right, and it's just, you can't find personnel or people, good people to wanna. Like I see more of the better guards, and keep them there. I don't know that guy's name, that guy works. He must work, the bald-headed gentleman.
which one, the little, the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
newer one?
No, the guy works a lot of hours. So, no, I know he's been good with the
He
guys.
doesn't even let me, when I'm in the car, like, people leave me at all.
Yeah, I was in a rental,
And I want to say, I couldn't, he was,
I was in a rental the other day.
nobody let me in either.
That means that they're doing their
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, right. Oh, absolutely.
He's one of the newer ones.
Very.
So I think at some point, it's just gonna cost us more money to get. And it might be,
But we need to understand, to your point earlier, like, what is the scope of the job?
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So that we can understand what they can.
And how much the police need to be doing also, right?
Exactly.
Because they're, at the end of that, they're security guards, they're not.
Because at the night shift, we only have 2, the roller and the guardhouse. We don't have a 3-man power, we're only 2. Maybe doing.
So I'm
2
thinking,
cars
adding
and
a
then
car or
another
2
car.
from 10 to 6, can you do it that way? Can you do from 10 PM to 6 AM, 9 PM to 6 AM?
You can
5 AM?
designate, you can staff it how you see fit.
So you could do a 9 to 5 at night, 2 more cars.
Oh, I
Now
agree.
there's someone always in front of your house.
The 3 at night.
If you got 3 cars from 9 to 5 during the dark hours. And you're not gonna prevent anyone from doing anything, but you'll give them second thoughts.
The terms, the term.
Why be here when I can go over there?
That, and I think if the reporting, I have a sneaky suspicion. It just, I have not heard, and I asked that question before. How many reports have you done? We see things and I'm walking my dog, I'm, doing other things, and I see things. How many reports do they really do? How active are they? And I think you're gonna be surprised if they're not that many. For what you should be seeing, so I think if we can up the service. And
Are
then,
people reporting to the security?
no, I meant what he's, how much on their own are they catching?
Oh, the security guard.
Yeah.
How do they have to report? Is it they have to fill out a paper report?
Yeah, there's an incident report, and they can gauge what it is. It can be system mechanics, so if the gate arm is malfunctioning, it can be crash is a listed report. It can be suspicious activity, can be a report.
But how do they do that? Do they have
Through
to
their
fill out?
supervisor, they fill out a paper, and then their supervisor can go ahead and take it and send it on over. Or the supervisor just approves it and send it directly from the guard.
So I think it would be a lot easier to get a report if they could use their phone. And you got 6 codes. And bang, they hit it. Because they're using the machines, you know where they are anyway, right? They're checking in periodically around
The scans, the QR codes.
whatever that system is. So if they're riding in a car and they see something, and it's very easy to just hit an app with a number in it. Now they've made a report. Simple. If they have to take out a piece of paper, fill out a piece, and they're driving around at night, even in the daytime. It's a pain. But think of the human factor. It's a pain. They're driving. Oh, I gotta stop. Oh, and now somebody's gonna see me and they're gonna think I'm loafing. But I'm filling out the report. But if they just have to take out their phone, use an app, hit a number, bang, it's a report. Especially when you're saying it's all coded.
Take a look here.
Seems to me that's,
I'm trying to think what good does a report do? What are they reporting? Is it stopping anything?
no.
It's more reactive.
But it's
Yeah,
identifying what's
what if
going
they
on.
are reporting on what came down the block at 6 o'clock and notice a guy walking around, looked like he didn't know. All right, it's a report. what's better is our WhatsApp reaction that goes on is incredible. And I don't know, Pat, if you were the one that suggested a neighborhood watch group, or maybe somebody had put that in. And I don't know if we can get that, but that's more than guy riding around in a car, even the front gate, again. You can have that front gate loaded up with all sorts of security, and people aren't gonna come in through the front gate looking like, oh, I'm here to rob a house. They may look, well, you know, you live here, why are you coming into the community? I can understand that. But I'm more concerned of the guy running around and look, a security guard is unarmed. He's not trained to be a police officer. I was a parole officer in New York City. I carried a gun for 25 years. And I see it from a little different perspective because I lived in the Brooklyn street and it wasn't a community that we have here. So my point being is a guard can only do so much. And more is if a community is much. When everybody started lighting up their houses, as we all had suggested in the beginning, you don't want dark corners of a house where somebody could creep in and nobody sees them. Just, again,
That seems to perform a good function.
well,
that way.
it does
I mean,
because
people let that, and if guys walk out, say I'm walking around.
and it identifies what the problem is and where the problem is. Where a guard riding around, he could be on one end of, and at the other end is where the activity is taken on. So again, I don't know what my point is that we gotta focus a little more on
Proactive.
prevention, yeah, and stopping and identifying a problem and not worrying about guards who can't really do anything more than we can, which is pick up a phone and call the cops or call the guardhouse and then call the cops or send a car at least to go by and say, hey, there's some guy that's.
Right now, we don't know if they're doing that.
Yeah,
I think we
right.
need to know what's in their scope, what limit, that's why that becomes very important.
Ready? So the contractor's employee shall prepare required orders, instructions, and reports, including reports of accidents, fires, unusual incidents, and unlawful acts, and provide these reports to the tenant. Prepare upon request or prepare required orders, instructions, and reports. So we can set that level of tone and amend the, we can amend the, right here, the site, make sure I said the right word here. We can amend the post orders,
They're not gonna do it.
Yeah,
You gotta, like,
but we can also, you can also make the
these
app.
aren't administrative people.
You, and
You got
to
like-
that, they have, we can look at what devices the company can leverage, and yeah, you're right, if it's easy where they can just 3 taps and that's. One means, incident at the guardhouse, one means the level of the actual concern, and another code means maybe something.
Or we can incentivize, if they catch, hey, if you catch so many incidents, whatever, you get a bonus or something.
You'll get takings.
Staged.
They're not gonna, people are self-maximizing.
Yeah.
I'll give you an incident a minute.
I think we should discuss if it's a possibility, and obviously it's gonna cost more, because if you have a guard at night, that they get paid more probably. Or
No,
not?
the hours, it's an hourly rate.
Well, I mean, and again, I'm just speaking for myself, but I see that there's more value of having 3 at night and 1 during the day than there is having 2 in the day and 2 at night. Because we can be as nosy as we can, you know, the chat works really well.
During the day. If they're 1 during the day,
Yeah,
and then 2 at night.
yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
To keep
Right.
the price.
Or 3 at night, whatever, but I think we need more
I mean, 3
at-
at night.
Yeah, more at night.
3 cars at night, 1 car during
Yeah,
the day.
because that's when the crime really happens, right? And you can only depend on the neighbor so much, because it's gonna happen honestly when everybody's sleeping, right? You're not gonna check your chat, well, maybe some people do. but that's also not really where
The
it's
only
at.
problem with having 1 is that when 1 has to use the restroom, no, there's no backup, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think it's a great
Yeah,
idea,
but you're right,
but the idea is you're gonna have 2 during the day, the service that you have now,
yeah.
and you up it to 3 at night. But before I would do that, I wanna know, like, when I hear that, it doesn't sound like it's much. Like, if I see somebody in a hoodie riding a bike that looks suspicious, can they follow that person?
No. No, the roving, the rover
Roving, no, the roving,
can place in that incident, it should be noted. And to be honest with you, if it's,
They didn't at night, they followed them all the way out.
yeah, and they'll usually, one is for the lights, flashlight, if they seem to continue on with whatever they're doing, they can go ahead and make it the judgment call of contacting police.
The residents followed them out also.
I think 3 cars.
I'll give it to the guys, it's like. Our guys,
One on top of each other.
Well, I mean, we're not gonna solve it. I think they're all great ideas. We just gotta figure out, we're gonna have to do multiple things in different places because not one is gonna solve everything.
And the police showing up.
I like the barbed wire.
I'll follow up with that and see what's the status of that, because I don't remember there being a
I don't
concern
either.
of not being able to patrol.
That happened when we had the call, remember that call here, and then afterwards, we had them like for maybe a week or so.
Yeah, outside,
Outside,
yeah.
but they were parked all night, practically almost 4 hours. Even, and then they disappeared.
If you guys are definitely intrigued me, I'll probably be doing the first 10 PM visit myself. I live somewhat close, so.
Yeah, it wasn't the commander, it was the lieutenant or whatever. He said,
Gonzo.
we used to be under an order that we had to go by at least make 2 rounds in Loch Lomond, but we're not doing that because there's, we can't,
They're short people.
they're short people, well, they're short people and they got this new task force that they're paying them overtime to go get car thieves all over the place and.
Vehicle burglary, unit.
See,
I'll take a
what-
look at that. I'll see how that affects anything else.
Something that they're gonna come back at you, so you know, is they're gonna say that our crime rate is very low. But we always have low crime rate here in Loch Lomond, and we wanna keep it that way. Like, we want it to actually go negative. Because they're comparing it to, when you take the statistics the whole time, you're looking at Satori or the West Side.
Hey, look at the whole town.
And of course, they have a lot more crime, so their crime has gone down. But if we had 0 crime one year, you have 1 incident, you've gone up 100%. So we feel it.
No, like I said, I'll definitely try to get an update on that and make sure that they're aware of these concerns. And then the other one's the fencing enhancements. I gotta take a look at as well.
Well, car burglary went up 200% Loch Lomond
Right.
from last news, 200% went up.
Anything else budgetary that you want to consider clarification? And like I said, my goal is to kind of get a pretty understood already budget for you guys at the next meeting. That way we can go ahead, adopt it, approve it.
Do you wanna go ahead and look at the cost of three, or you wanna table that till we get more information? That's for open discussion.
I can give you 2 options. I can give you the proposed budget with option B that has the increased amount of service.
3 cars from 9 to 5.
3 cars from 9 to 5 or 10 to
So,
whatever that.
Three cars means 4 guards.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, you mean.
I'm sorry.
3 guards, 2 cars.
That's correct.
What happens sometimes is you get too many employees and they do nothing, then it just, sometimes it's a negative. You know,
Do you feel that might be a negative?
yeah.
So, well, we can vote on it now. I mean, how we all feel.
It also,
Remember, we're just gonna get a price. We're not making a decision yet. Just to see how much more money it would be. And that would be per person.
I think
what
to
other
push them,
options?
I think to push them to have the cops come in and roam, you know,
And then it'll stop.
you just have to continue to bring up at the meetings and let them know, like. Presence is there for a short period and then it's gone again.
I'm gonna make sure I voice the concerns that I'm hearing today, so don't worry about that side.
But what if you found, let me ask a question, if you found that it only went up $50 a year for your house, to have 1 extra person? You think that's a waste?
No, it's worth every minute.
It's worth it if you get a different outcome, but what outcome would you be looking for? What would you feel that extra person is gonna do?
Deterrent is more deterrent.
Deterrent.
It's more people roaming.
Yeah, well,
More people roaming, but if they're
They're just gonna be
incompetent,
sitting
No,
in
no, I
different corners, they're just gonna be sitting in different corners. Lock room.
That's
Well,
what
they
the
should be
police
doing
do.
that now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They do.
Well, they're sitting there now, then we got another.
That's standard.
How about-
Yeah, I have to be checking all those scanners.
how about having an
I
actual
think don't
officer?
the dispatchers.
Too expensive,
yeah, that's too expensive.
over $100,000.
When we get 1 officer, we say we're paying $185.
No,
No,
you're not gonna have it on, he means in addition to this, over $100,000.
no, not one, keep 1 in the guard, in the gate,
Yeah, by ordinance, you have to maintain 1 sentinel service 24/7.
but the police wouldn't be that?
I'll have to take a look. I think we brought this up at one point. but police officer all in, was a pretty large figure.
So $100,000, I know already.
That's a big
I
number.
already found it out. 100 grand. Because you're not paying them their normal hour rate, it's a detail.
And you're paying their FRS and all that.
No, absolutely, but, I mean, we don't have to do it, it's just knowing what that cost would be.
How much does it cost to make us a private road then?
I asked that question too, I never got the answer. That's one of my questions, I asked that lady, she
Resignation.
never gave me an answer as to the studies, the cost, the legality, she never answered that.
Now, remember, when you make it private,
You're gonna do
when
it.
those pipe breaks,
You gotta-
that's all of it.
You assume all the right of way. You also.
There's no way to make it private.
We're honest.
Golf courses are used to, golf courses.
Yeah, there's no way to make it private. There's too many entrances in and out of that.
You would also assume the good amount of
Even a
trees,
private-
mature trees that are.
They're ready, they're ready, yeah.
Then that's it, guys, there's no solution.
Community awareness is
That's
big
it.
thing.
Most important.
The
Community
tournaments, we
reporting.
do as many things as we
And
can.
just tell everybody to chip in, and we can get Patrick a sheriff badge.
I'll get him the hat. I'll get him the hat.
You got to-
You have them automatic?
Mine's staying on.
So just to bring it back in, I kind of got the notion, I will bring because there's no impact, when you guys vote, that's the impact.
Yeah.
I'll take already and bring that option B, that'll bring you the third guard at night. And at that point, it'd be consideration during the budget review.
It doesn't seem
It
like
doesn't hurt.
nobody wants it, but it's always good to.
Well, like I said, it's $50. A lot of people pay an extra $50 a year.
That's where we'll get into the democratic process of going ahead and putting it up for a vote, and if there's power behind it, essentially that's the majority approves, and then it'll go to council.
You're looking at,
Two people on.
are we voting on something?
No, I don't need, that doesn't need a motion, because essentially it's not dictating any change in pricing. When you adopt it at the next meeting, yes, that's gonna obviously need a full motion and so forth.
When you're gonna look at the pricing, what are you looking at the
Second
pricing?
garden night.
Second Garnet, what is that total impact?
Yeah, those two road, probably, two golf carts or two cars?
Yes, I get the car.
Yeah, I was gonna put at the same level of service a vehicle you have. I'm just gonna add another vehicle with another guard.
That's another thing, that's something that I wanna read, the car is, need to know what level car that needs to be, it's level 2.
It's, no. It's in there as well, the core basics, and actually I have to go back, because I think we amended it when we had the first issue with a beat up car that was delivered, that was actually out of service and sitting on the sidelines for a while too.
Yeah,
Now, my question to you is that camera still there?
No.
Okay,
Every now and then it's like.
It'll show up,
but there's,
it'll show up.
to my last recollection, it had a small SUV,
No,
so that's to a Corolla,
Yeah, but it's a new car.
it is a Corolla,
a new Corolla.
and I don't know about new, but it's a Corolla. I think the new one, broke down, and they had to that's when the old one came back in.
With that electric one.
Well, I see no other items. Is there anything else?
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Second, go ahead, 7:32.